Have you ever wondered if you could silently command someone's thoughts and have them think of nothing but you? Not just think of you, but crave you, obsess over you, and pursue you, as if guided by something unseen? The secret lies not in force, but in imagination, in the silent command of consciousness itself. Welcome to a journey into the unseen laws of reality. In this lesson, we're diving deep into telepathic command manifestation, how you can make someone obsessed with you using the power of imagination, the law of assumption, and the truth that consciousness is the only reality. These are not idle theories, they are living laws. And today, you'll learn how to manifest obsession in a specific person without speaking a word, using telepathic energy rooted in the eternal truth. Imagination creates reality. Many years ago, I had an experience which forever altered the way I viewed human connection. There was a woman, charming, distant, utterly indifferent to my existence. I had no logical reason to believe she would think of me, let alone obsess over me. But I knew something that others did not. The outer world reflects the assumptions we hold inwardly. So I did not chase her. I did not call her. I did not try to convince her. I simply sat quietly, closed my eyes, and entered the state where I imagined her longing for me, searching for me, needing me with intensity, not with desperation, but with certainty. I imagined her unable to sleep, wondering where I was. I heard her voice calling my name in the silence. I felt the warmth of her needing to be near me. I lived in that end. Within days, the shift occurred. A sudden phone call, a confession. She'd been thinking of me non-stop, she said, dreaming of me. She couldn't understand why, but I could. I had sent the telepathic command, not through effort, but through conscious assumption. This is the law, and it is impersonal. It will work for anyone who understands it. We speak far more in silence than we ever do with our lips. There is a conversation you are holding right now, though your mouth is still. That dialogue within, subtle, ongoing, often unconscious, is the true architect of your reality. What you say aloud may convince others, but what you whisper internally, again and again, convinces life itself. There is a great illusion that only spoken words carry weight. But the true creative force is not in the audible, but in the assumption, in the words formed on the invisible lips of imagination. These are your mental conversations, and they do not fade. They impress the subconscious and give form to the very things you later call reality. If you would change your world, you must first observe your inner speech. You must become conscious of the stories you repeat in the quiet, for these are your prayers. When you engage in silent arguments, when you replay scenes of being rejected, overlooked, or misunderstood, you are not merely remembering, you are rehearsing creation. You are telling your subconscious, this is who I am, and this is what I expect. The subconscious accepts the feeling behind the thought and begins to shape the outer world to reflect it. I once knew a man who constantly complained, not with his mouth, for outwardly he was agreeable, even charming, but his inner speech was a constant stream of judgment, envy, and defeat. He would walk the streets silently criticizing others, comparing himself to the more successful, and reminding himself of all he lacked. He believed these thoughts to be private, harmless even, but his life told another story. Nothing ever worked out. Relationships fell apart, opportunities slipped away, and he called it bad luck. It was not luck, it was law. His mental conversations were saturated with lack and unworthiness, so life echoed back exactly that. You are always in communion with yourself. The mind is never still, but the question is, what are you saying, and do you know it? The moment you begin to take charge of your inner dialogue, you begin to take charge of your destiny. For every event in your outer world, begins as a seed planted in the rich soil of imagination. If you would be loved, you must speak as one who is already adored. If you would be admired, walk as one who knows their value. Do not wait for someone to say these words to you. Say them silently to yourself. Hear them in your imagination. Carry on long conversations with the one you love, even if they are not yet by your side in the flesh. For what is imagined with feeling becomes the blueprint for what must unfold. Suppose you wish to receive a message from a specific person. Do not look to the phone, do not check the time, sit in stillness and engage the person in your inner speech. Hear them say the words you long to hear. Feel the warmth of that connection. Let it become so real to you that the external confirmation becomes inevitable. You are not persuading them, you are persuading yourself. And once you are inwardly persuaded, the world must conform. You may think, but how can something unspoken affect the physical world? That is the question of the rational mind. But imagination is not bound by logic. It is spirit. And spirit does not argue, it creates. All things are made through imagination, and without it, nothing was made that was made. When you imagine, you are shaping the invisible. This is not suggestion, it is not a technique, it is law. The inner dialogue is the cause, the outer world is the effect. If your world is not pleasing, you must not condemn it, for it is only the mirror. You must return to the source, to the hidden realm of thought and feeling. There in the silence, choose new words. Speak as one who already has. Hold yourself in the posture of fulfilled desire. Let the conversation reflect your new state. And persist. Do not grow weary when results do not come overnight. The seed germinates in darkness. The conversation may be invisible, but its results are inevitable if sustained. The only requirement is inner consistency, to remain loyal to the new dialogue no matter what the senses report. The senses will always echo your former speech until the new one has taken root. Be patient, be faithful, be deliberate in thought. And above all, speak with feeling, for it is not the words that create, it is the emotion behind them. Let your inner speech be drenched in the feeling of love, of worthiness, of fulfillment. Speak to yourself as one who is already chosen, already admired, already treasured. For in truth you are. And once you believe this within, others will confirm it without, not because they are persuaded, but because the law cannot be broken. So train yourself. Watch your thoughts. Catch the habitual story before it repeats itself, and gently but firmly replace it with the new. Have the inner conversation of your ideal self. Argue not with the world, but with your old assumptions. Refuse to accept what the past has told you. Speak only that which is consistent with your desired end. And as surely as day follows night, your world will echo back your inner voice and call it destiny. There is a strange paradox in the laws that govern creation. The moment you chase, you announce to the world that what you desire is not yet yours, and life, being nothing more than the outpicturing of your inner state, must obey. It mirrors not your words, not your longing, but your assumption. You do not attract by wanting, you attract by being. Desire is holy, but if left unchecked, it turns to yearning. And yearning speaks only of separation. When you say, I want them, you confirm they are not yours. But when you say within yourself, they are mine, not as a statement of hope, but as a conviction, you begin to shape the invisible bridge of events that must lead to union. It is the great secret. Assume the wish fulfilled, and let that assumption saturate your being. You need not beg, you need not strive, you need not alter the other, for they are already perfect in the state you imagine them. To chase is to misunderstand the creative power within you. When you pursue someone outwardly, you act as if the outer world holds the power. But the outer is nothing more than frozen belief, a reflection of your internal condition. The world is a mirror, and no amount of running toward the reflection will change the image. You must change the root, and the root is within. Suppose you desire the love of a specific person. Begin not with the question, how will it happen? That is the path of confusion. Begin instead with the end. Imagine what it would feel like to already have their love, not in the distant future, not as a vague possibility, but now, fully realized, fully yours. Let the scene unfold in imagination with clarity and ease. Feel their hand in yours, hear their voice calling you beloved. Sense the safety, the joy, the calm certainty of being theirs and them being yours. And then, here is the work. Live from that state. Think from it. Speak from it. Walk your world as one who is already loved, already chosen, already held in the heart of the one you desire. Let not the senses distract you. Let not delay deceive you. Time is but the servant of assumption. What you assume now, deeply and consistently, must be born in time. Many live in the agony of waiting. They hope and wish and pine, but to wait is to dwell in the absence. You are not called to wait. You are called to occupy. Move into the state of fulfillment and claim it. It is already yours in the unseen, and that unseen is more real than what your eyes behold. What is seen is temporary. What is imagined is eternal. The Lord does not ask you to convince the other person. You need not send messages, perform rituals, or attempt to manipulate. You are not working on them. You are working on yourself. The other is but yourself pushed out, playing the role your assumption dictates. If they seem distant, cold, or uninterested, ask not why. Ask what within you believes that story, and then write a new one. You may say, but I cannot believe they are mine when they do not speak to me. But belief is not built on evidence. Belief creates the evidence. You believe first, and then you see. That is the order. There is no outer circumstance that can withstand a sustained inner conviction. If you persist in the assumption that they are yours, with feeling, with inner stillness, the outer world must realign. You do not need their permission to love them in imagination. You do not need to announce your assumption. You need only dwell in it. Speak to them inwardly as you would if they were beside you. Carry on loving conversations in the silence. Let your nights be filled with the warmth of their presence. Let your mind return again and again to the state of being together, not as a wish, but as a reality. And soon the world must echo back your inner knowing. This is not fantasy, it is creation. Fantasy is fleeting and passive, but assumption is active and firm. It is the law of being. What you assume to be true, with feeling, with repetition, with emotional commitment, must become true for you. That is the promise. Let others speak of effort. Let others speak of luck. You need not trouble yourself with such ideas. Your work is inner. Hold fast to your vision. Guard it from doubt. Return to it as often as needed. And know the one you seek is seeking you. For they must play the part your assumption has written. If you assume rejection, they will reject. If you assume love, they will love. Not because you forced them, but because you entered the state where that version of them already exists. You are the author, you are the cause, and what you claim within, the world cannot deny. The rest in the knowing that it is done. Feel it deeply. Let that feeling guide your thoughts, your choices, your movements. Do not chase, do not plead, assume, and let the unseen hand shape the visible world in perfect response to your inner word. You may think it is the thought alone that creates, but it is not. Thought without feeling is sterile. It passes through the mind like wind across a field, stirring nothing, moving nothing, creating nothing. It is feeling that gives thought its power. It is feeling that impregnates the subconscious and causes that which was unseen to become seen. The secret lies not in the thought of the wish, but in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Feeling is the one thing the subconscious mind understands. It does not reason, it does not analyze, it accepts the feeling as fact and builds your world accordingly. Whatever you feel to be true, even if the senses deny it, will harden into fact if you persist in it. The world is a mirror, and that mirror reflects not just what you think, but what you feel yourself to be. Suppose you desire to be loved. Then you must not merely think, I want to be loved, for that is the voice of separation. You must feel yourself already loved, warm, secure, chosen. You must enter into that state as though it were your present reality. The outer world may show no evidence, the person you desire may be far away, yet none of that matters. For the moment you assume the feeling of being loved, you have stepped into the creative space where all things are born. The work is not to force outer change, but to generate inner conviction. It is to feel your way into the desired state and remain there, not as a passing fancy, not as an idle dream, but as a living, emotional atmosphere. You must breathe it, wear it, walk in it. The body may be here, but the feeling must dwell in the place you wish to occupy. And if you persist in that feeling, the world must eventually yield. It has no choice, for the law is sure. Do not concern yourself with appearances. Appearances will always reflect the past, the echoes of old feelings, old assumptions, old beliefs. But you are not bound to them unless you believe them to be final. Every moment is a chance to assume a new feeling, and thus a new destiny. The door is always open, and the key is your feeling. You may hear the words of another that contradict your desire. They may reject you, oppose you, mock your faith. But if you refuse to feel rejected, if you hold fast to the feeling of being accepted and loved, then their words hold no power. For the subconscious does not listen to them, it listens to you. What are you feeling? That is the seed that shall be planted, and what is planted in feeling will grow in form. There was a time I longed for a change in my world, a connection, a reconciliation, a love that seemed distant. I tried many things in the outer world, but nothing changed. Then I turned inward. I sat in silence and asked myself, what would I feel if it were already so? I entered into that feeling, not halfway, but fully. And I stayed there. I repeated it, nourished it, carried it with me, and soon the change came. Not as I expected, but it came, because the feeling had prepared the way. This law is impersonal. It does not ask if you are deserving, only if you are feeling the thing desired as real. The one who feels rich will attract richness. The one who feels loved will draw love. The one who feels unwanted, though surrounded by opportunity, will repel it. Life listens to your emotional frequency, not your words. You must be in tune with the state you desire. You cannot play the music of joy if you are vibrating with sorrow. Do not ask, what must I do? Ask instead, what must I feel? For feeling brings action naturally. When you feel secure in love, you behave differently. You speak with confidence. You move with grace. You radiate something that draws others in. That is not manipulation. It is alignment. It is the natural consequence of assumed feeling. You cannot fake it outwardly and expect results. You must believe it inwardly and let the outer follow. The Lord does not respond to empty declarations, but to genuine emotional occupation. Occupy the state you wish to experience. Rest in it. Let it become your dwelling place. Let it be more real to you than what the senses show. For the senses lie when they contradict your inner conviction. Trust feeling over sight, and sight will conform. Every desire carries within it the power of fulfillment, but only if you match its frequency. And the frequency is feeling. You cannot want something and feel unworthy of it and expect to receive it. You must feel it as yours, natural and true. And when you do, your subconscious takes it as reality and begins to express it in your world. You are not waiting on life. Life is waiting on you to feel the truth of what you desire. So begin now. Enter the feeling. Wear it like a garment. Let it warm you, guide you, shape you. Feel it as though it were already here, and it shall be. For feeling is the secret, and the secret is always within your reach. There is only one entrance by which that which you desire can come into the world of form. That entrance is imagination. You may search for doors in the outer world, actions, strategies, techniques, or people, but you will find nothing until you first unlock the door within. For what you see around you is but the shadow of what you have already accepted within. Imagination is not a fanciful escape from reality. It is the womb of reality. All that appears in your world has its origin in an unseen dimension, shaped and defined by the images you hold and the state you occupy in imagination. That which you dare to assume as true in the silence of your inner chamber will become the frame upon which the visible world must build. The mistake of most is in trying to fix the outer. They labor and struggle trying to arrange the people and the circumstances to suit their desire, not knowing they are attempting to decorate the reflection while ignoring the face. You cannot change your world by force nor by effort alone. You change it by vision, by daring to enter the scene you long for, and by dwelling in it as though it were already real. Imagination is not idle. It is not a luxury. It is the most sacred faculty you possess. Through it, you enter into states of consciousness that draw to you the conditions which match them. If you are faithful to what you imagine, if you persist in the emotional acceptance of the thing longed for, the world will rearrange itself to make that desire flesh. There is no power in circumstance. There is only power in consciousness. And consciousness expresses itself through the images and impressions held in imagination. You must see it before you see it. You must accept it as true inwardly before it becomes visible outwardly. This is not a metaphor. It is the law. Suppose you long to receive a message from someone you love, and yet there is silence. The common man waits, checks his device, paces and worries. But one who understands this law enters imagination and hears the message. He feels the joy of its arrival, the familiar voice, the loving tone. He repeats the scene inwardly, not with effort but with delight. He hears the words over and over until they are more real than the silence of the outer world. And then the message arrives, not by chance, but by law. Imagination does not merely mimic reality, it precedes it. Everything in your world was once imagined, perhaps unknowingly, perhaps with doubt, but imagined nonetheless. Even fear is imagination. Imagination used in reverse. When you worry, when you expect rejection or failure, you are also imagining. You are planting seeds in the garden of consciousness, and the garden does not ask whether the seed is wanted. It simply brings forth what is sown. The question then is not whether you imagine, but how. Are you imagining consciously in alignment with your desire, or are you allowing your imagination to drift into scenes that contradict what you truly want? It is not enough to desire something with your lips. While picturing the opposite in your mind, the subconscious receives what you see and feel, not what you say. The image must match the desire, and you must dwell in it as though it were already fulfilled. There is no one to convince but yourself. If you dare to assume it and feel it real, it is done. But you must believe more in the reality of the unseen than in the report of the senses. The senses are slow. They reflect only what was once imagined. They are echoes of old thoughts, not messengers of truth. It is the very substance of the world to come. There was a time when I longed to be in a certain city, to be surrounded by new people and fresh experiences. But circumstance made it impossible. There was no money, no opportunity, no invitation. But I turned inward, and I walked the streets of that city in my imagination. I smelled the air, heard the sounds, saw myself among the people. I did it again and again, until it became more real than the walls around me. And then, without effort, the means arrived. The invitation came, the doors opened, not because I forced them, but because I had already entered. The world cannot resist a man or woman who dwells in the fulfilled desire. Everything bends to serve the one who imagines faithfully. Events unfold, people appear, circumstances shift, all to bring about the scene held within. You need not know the how. The bridge of incidents will build itself. Your only task is to imagine and feel it as already true. And so if you seek change, do not look out. Look within. Enter the scene that implies your wish is fulfilled. See it clearly. Feel it deeply. Return to it often. Do not do this with strain, but with joy. It is a secret place, and what is done there will be shouted from the rooftops. Your world will reflect the pictures painted in the silence of imagination, for imagination is the only doorway through which your desire may enter. There is a great illusion in the world, the belief that action alone produces results. Men labor day and night, chase opportunities, argue, plead, strive to move pieces in the external world, yet fail to recognize the invisible hand that shapes it all. What the world calls action is but the echo of imagination. It is not the doing with hands, but the doing within that truly creates. You may toil outwardly without inner change and see nothing shift, but one act of imagination, properly sustained with conviction and feeling, will reorder events with such precision, such elegance, that the outer world will seem to melt and reform around your vision. The cause of all change lies within. What you do in imagination is the seed. What you experience in the world is the fruit. The quality of the fruit is determined not by how much effort you exert, but by how faithfully you imagine the end. The outer world is mechanical, reflective. It cannot initiate. It only echoes what you are already doing within yourself. When you live as though the outer is the source, you place yourself at the mercy of conditions. But when you understand that all action begins in consciousness, you step into your rightful place as the creator of your experience. This law is not poetic, it is absolute. If you will but dare to imagine a new reality and persist in that state, the outer world must yield. You may observe two individuals pursuing the same goal. One works without ceasing, anxious, constantly moving from one tactic to the next, driven by fear of failure. The other, while also active, acts from a place of inner peace. He has already seen the result in imagination. He has already lived the end. And so his actions are effortless, purposeful, and charged with quiet confidence. He does not move to get the result. He moves because the result is already his. All true action springs from imagination. The man who succeeds has first seen himself succeed. He has walked the halls of success in his mind, heard the words of praise, felt the warmth of triumph. Before the world acknowledged it, he acknowledged it. The one who waits for external proof before assuming success is always behind the curve of creation. You must go first in imagination. Suppose you desire to restore a broken relationship. You may write long messages, make countless calls, try to persuade the other, but if within you still carry the image of rejection or separation, no action will restore what is broken. But if you go inward and in imagination replay a scene of reconciliation, not as hope, but as reality, if you hear their voice speaking words of warmth, if you feel their presence beside you with peace and certainty, and return to that inner scene again and again, the bridge will be built, the means will come, the action will arise, but it will arise naturally, without force, as the expression of your inner world. Action without imagination is labor without direction. Imagination with feeling and faith is the true power. You are not called to do more, you are called to imagine more clearly. You need not beg or hustle for what is already yours in the unseen. Instead, be still and claim it through imagination. Feel the reality of your desire so vividly that the world cannot help but conform. There is a sacred power in the imaginal act. To sit in silence and create fully, faithfully, emotionally is to touch the divine. You are not playing a game. You are participating in the process of creation. Every time you imagine a scene and feel it real, you have sown a seed in the soil of the subconscious, and that seed will grow. It may take time, for everything is governed by a season, but it will grow. Do not underestimate what is done in silence. A single inner scene, played with intensity and feeling, can do more than months of outward effort. This is not a call to passivity, but to right use of your faculties. Action has its place, but it must follow imagination, not replace it. When you act without first assuming the end, you act in vain. But when you imagine clearly and your inner act matches your desire, action becomes inspired, directed, and effective. All transformations begin in the invisible. The world you see is not fixed. It is fluid, shaped by the unseen forces of belief and assumption. Your imagination is the workshop where those forces are harnessed. You may think you are acting by moving your body or speaking your words, but if those actions do not match your inner picture, they are hollow. But if they arise from your inner knowing, they are powerful beyond measure. You can test this. Imagine tonight a simple scene that implies your desire is fulfilled. Play it as though you are the actor, not the observer. Feel the scene, make it vivid, repeat it, live from it, and then watch quietly and without strain as the world responds. It may be subtle at first, a word, a sign, a gesture, but it will begin. And in time, if you remain faithful to that imaginal act, the fullness of the thing will appear. You are not waiting for the world to change. The world is waiting for you to assume the change within. Act inwardly, and the outer will echo. Remember, what you do in imagination is not fiction. It is causation. It is the hidden architecture of your life. Let imagination lead, and let action follow. To impress your desire upon another, you do not speak it, you do not plead for it, you do not argue your case or wait for them to see your worth. You do the only thing that ever truly works. You assume it is already done. You enter the inner realm and rest in the end. You see them as already convinced, already drawn to you, already behaving in accordance with your desire. And by doing this, not once or twice, but faithfully and with feeling, you transmit your state to them, and the invisible bond is forged. The world teaches you to persuade others with words, to influence by strategy, to beg or manipulate to get what you want. But this is the way of shadows. The true self knows that consciousness is the only force that moves. The mind of another is not separate from yours. It is within your own consciousness. And what you accept as real within yourself concerning them is what they will unconsciously express. There is no separation between yourself and the one you seek to influence. There is only consciousness expressing itself in different forms. And when you assume a thing to be true of another, when you feel it and see it with conviction, you are planting that assumption within the field of the one mind. The other, though unaware, begins to align with the picture you have drawn, not because of force, but because of resonance. You need not speak a word to the one whose mind you seek to reach. In fact, words often disturb what silence would establish. It is not through outer contact, but through inner union that the change is made. See the one you love responding to you in the way your heart longs for. Feel the warmth of their attention, the joy of their affection, the clarity of their understanding. Imagine the exact scene that would follow if all were fulfilled, and then live in that scene inwardly until it becomes your emotional home. The subconscious accepts whatever you assume to be true about yourself and about others. If you continue to believe someone is distant, cold, or uninterested, then you are impressing that upon them through the medium of shared consciousness. You are rehearsing the very behavior you wish to dissolve. But when you revise your inner concept of them, when you assume their love, their interest, their agreement, the signal changes, and they, without knowing why, begin to move toward your assumption. Let us say there is someone in your life you wish to think of you, speak to you, reach out with love or favor. The outer mind might try to send a message, post a signal, engage them directly. But the spiritual man goes higher. He closes his eyes, enters the quiet, and constructs the desired conversation as though it is taking place now. He hears the voice, he sees the smile, he feels the satisfaction, and by accepting that imaginal act as real, he sows the seed. Nothing is needed except your assumption. No evidence, no response, no sign from the other. All that is required is your willingness to believe that your assumption has power. The other cannot help but reflect the state you most consistently occupy concerning them. Their behavior is a mirror of your deepest expectation. This is not domination, it is divine harmony. You are not coercing anyone against their will. You are aligning yourself with a reality where the best in them is drawn forth. You are choosing to see them not as they were or as they appear, but as they would be if your desire were fulfilled. And because consciousness is one, they receive that impression not always through thought, but through impulse, mood, and movement. They feel something shift and they respond, not knowing that you've gone before them in consciousness. You must remember that no one can resist the reality you create within. If you persist in it long enough and with sufficient emotion, the moment you stop doubting, stop checking, stop needing them to confirm it, your assumption deepens. And as your assumption becomes natural to you, it becomes inevitable to them. The moment you feel at peace with the end, it is done. There was a time when I longed for someone's presence, for a bond to be renewed. The outer signs were contrary. All communication had ceased. Yet I no longer reached outward. I turned within. I saw us together again. I heard their laughter, felt the nearness. Imagined the conversation already taking place. I assumed it was done, not in desperation, but in joy. And one day, without my doing, the message came. The bridge had been built invisibly. The impression was received, and it expressed without effort. This law applies to all, whether it be love, reconciliation, favor, or understanding. You impress your desire upon another not by speaking it, but by assuming it is already received. You make no demands, you require no proof. You simply dwell in the state where they are already behaving in the way your soul seeks. And you do this with calmness, with repetition, and with faith. Impression is not force, it is stillness. It is not pushing, it is knowing. When you know something inwardly, deeply, emotionally, it will echo through all minds that touch yours. You are always broadcasting your assumptions. Choose them wisely. Let your assumption be the fulfillment of your desire, and it will be received by the one for whom it is intended. Then through means unknown and often unexpected, it will return to you, clothed in form. There is a force within you more powerful than any spoken word, more compelling than any act of persuasion, the feeling of the wish fulfilled. This feeling is the silent language of creation, a radiance that emanates from your very being and reaches outward into the consciousness of those around you. When you hold within yourself the emotion of having already received what you desire, that vibration sends forth waves that influence and draw others toward your imagined reality. The world teaches that influence comes from speech, from demonstration, from external power. But this influence is weak and fleeting compared to the magnetic power of feeling deeply that your desire is realized. Feeling is the secret essence of all creation. It is the current that moves the unseen wires connecting all minds. When you feel your wish fulfilled, you create a field of attraction so potent that it becomes impossible for others to resist responding to it. Consider the moments when you've been drawn to another person not because they told you to come closer or tried to convince you, but because of an invisible quality about them, a confident, joyous presence that seemed to call you silently. That presence was the feeling of the wish fulfilled, manifesting in them. It created a resonance in your own consciousness, pulling you nearer without effort. This is the law in operation. To truly influence another, you must first become the embodiment of your desire. You must not only think of the outcome, but live in the feeling of having it already. This is not pretending or wishful thinking. It is entering into the reality that will manifest. When you radiate that feeling, it lights a spark within others' minds. It touches their imagination, stirring a matching response even before words are exchanged. The feeling of fulfillment is not merely a mental exercise, but a state of being. It permeates your entire self, your posture, your expression, your demeanor. And others sense it as a truth beyond explanation. It is this truth that moves them unconsciously, aligning their thoughts and actions with the reality you hold within. They become, in a sense, extensions of your imagined state, acting as channels through which your desire flows into the physical world. You may wonder how this feeling affects others you have never met, or even those around you daily. The answer lies in the invisible connection that binds all consciousness. The feeling of the wish fulfilled creates a vibrational pattern that others who are receptive will pick up on. They may not understand why they are drawn to you or why their thoughts align with yours, but the influence is undeniable. Your inner state acts like a beacon, signaling your desired reality and pulling those who resonate toward it. In the practical application of this law, patience and persistence are required. The feeling must be sustained with faith and clarity. It is easy to waver, to allow doubt or impatience to weaken the radiance. Yet the moment you retreat from this feeling, the influence diminishes. Others respond not to your words or actions alone, but to the strength of your inner conviction expressed through feeling. There was a time when the presence of someone I deeply desired to influence seemed distant and unresponsive. Instead of pleading or attempting to force interaction, I withdrew inward and cultivated the feeling of our connection as if it were already real. I imagined the warmth of their gaze, the kindness in their voice, the joyful conversation between us. I held this feeling steadily and allowed it to radiate through me. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, the other person's attitude shifted. Without knowing the source, they began to mirror the state I had assumed. This experience reveals that the feeling of the wish fulfilled is a language without words, a silent communication that bypasses resistance and touches the soul. It is the magnet that draws the desired reality from the unseen into the seen. When you cultivate this feeling, you become a living proof of your desire. Others are drawn to that proof, responding naturally and spontaneously. Do not underestimate the power of your emotional state. It is the key that unlocks doors that logic, effort, and persuasion cannot open. By dwelling in the feeling of fulfillment, you not only change your own reality, but also influence the minds and hearts of those around you. Your inner state becomes a field of attraction, a silent force shaping the outcome you seek. Remember, the world is but a reflection of your inner state. To change what appears outside, change what you feel inside. Let the feeling of the wish fulfilled become your constant companion. Let it shine through you and out into the world, for it is this radiance that bends circumstances, shifts minds, and brings your desire into form. The feeling you cultivate within you is more than emotion. It is the very power that moves mountains and creates realities. There is a profound and undeniable truth. Your thoughts and feelings are the invisible architects of your reality. What you impress upon your own mind with vividness and emotion becomes the blueprint from which your world is formed. This is no mere theory, but the fundamental law by which all things are created. Your inner state, your assumptions, your imaginal acts, your feelings, is the seed from which the outer world inevitably grows. To grasp this, you must understand that consciousness is not a passive witness, but the active creator of all experience. Consider for a moment the power held within your imagination. It is not simply a place of fanciful dreams or idle wishes. It is the workshop where reality itself is forged. Every sensation you experience, every event you witness, is first conceived within the silent chambers of your mind. To change what is without, you must first change what is within. The outer world is a mirror, reflecting back to you the inner conditions you cultivate. This means that the state you occupy, the assumptions you hold about yourself and others, shape not only your actions but the very responses you receive. If you assume limitation, failure, or rejection, your consciousness broadcasts that expectation, and circumstances will conspire to fulfill it. Conversely, if you assume success, love, abundance, or harmony with unwavering conviction and feeling, you send a different signal, one that draws corresponding experiences to you. You are not a victim of your surroundings, but the master of your inner kingdom. By revising your inner conversations, by imagining scenes that imply your desire already fulfilled, you begin to rewrite the story your life will tell. This act of assumption is not a superficial wish, but a deep-seated belief rooted in feeling. It is the difference between hoping for change and knowing that change is real and present now. When you live in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you align your entire being with that reality. This alignment influences your demeanor, your speech, your energy, qualities that others perceive unconsciously. People respond not merely to your words, but to the invisible atmosphere you create around you. You become a beacon, a magnet for the things you have imagined. This is the secret of effective influence and manifestation. Many make the mistake of trying to force external circumstances without first securing the inner reality. They chase after results with frantic effort, unaware that the root of creation lies in consciousness. External action is important, yes, but it is the effect, not the cause. The cause is your mental assumption, the conviction that what you desire is already yours. This conviction is the invisible power that moves mountains and causes circumstances to rearrange themselves in your favor. You may wonder how to maintain this state amidst the chaos of daily life, doubts and distractions. The answer lies in disciplined imagination and feeling. Each day, take moments to dwell deeply in the scene that implies fulfillment. See it clearly, hear it vividly, and feel it intensely. Return to this inner act with faith and persistence, allowing it to saturate your subconscious mind. With time, this practice transforms your habitual thoughts and emotions, creating a fertile ground for manifestation. Do not be discouraged if the outer evidence seems slow to appear. The law works silently, unseen, but with absolute certainty. Like a seed planted beneath the soil, your assumption must grow in the hidden realm before it breaks the surface. Trust in the power of your inner state and remain faithful to the feeling of fulfillment. This faith is the catalyst that accelerates manifestation and brings your desires to life. Remember, your imagination is the womb of creation. What you nurture within it, with feeling and conviction, must be born into your experience. You hold the key to every circumstance, every relationship, every opportunity. By mastering your inner world, you master the outer world. This is the sacred art of conscious creation, the knowing that your desire, impressed with feeling and belief upon your own mind, is already done and will inevitably appear. Live therefore as though your wishes are fulfilled. Guard your thoughts and feelings carefully, for they are the invisible scriptwriters of your destiny. When you impress your desire upon your own consciousness, you awaken the sleeping power within you to shape reality itself. This is not magic, but the immutable law of consciousness. Use it wisely, use it faithfully, and watch as your imagined world unfolds before your eyes, step by step, until your desire stands fully realized in the realm of the seen. To bring all these truths together, your inner world, your imagination, your feelings, your assumptions, is the true creative force shaping every detail of your external reality. When you fully embrace the feeling of the wish fulfilled, when you steadfastly assume your desire is done, you align yourself with the invisible current that moves the world. Influence is not gained by force or words, but by the quiet, persistent radiance of your inner conviction. As you live from this place, others and circumstances naturally respond, reflecting back the reality you have embraced within. This is the sacred law of creation. To create consciously, you must first imagine and feel the end with unwavering faith. Your power lies within, and by mastering your inner state, you unlock the door to any reality you choose. Remember always, what you impress upon your own consciousness must manifest. For consciousness is the root of all things. Walk confidently in this truth and watch your world transform in harmony with your deepest desires.